Hey, what's up, party people? Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, Vine, and that is... Oh, gosh.
Someone you have seen quite enough of. Quite enough of.
Get rid of him.
It is honestly getting to the point of... It's getting too much. Too much me. Hello, everybody. I'm Greg Tepper. That's Vine Moreno. Welcome to the pre-show before the free show. This is the season-ending spectacular, the season finale of Texas football today. It's our last show until January 26th. So we're going to take 5 weeks off after this for holidays, to reset, to get things in an order, do postmortems around here, take a little bit of a break. But we will be back for realignment coming up in late January. That will go down in February. We'll have much more on that on TexasFootball.com. So we're back from state championships.
We're back.
We've overdosed on football.
OD'd.
That's quite simply what we've done. You asked me something while we were in Arlington. Mm-hmm. Because I was the color commentator for four of the state championship games with our friends over at Victory Plus. And called the 2A Division II game with the Hall of Famer Craig Way, Texas Football Today's own. Although Ted's been on TFT too, so.
Has he really?
Yeah. We had him on as a guest a couple years ago.
Nice.
We'd have him on again. Ted's great. And then I did 3A Division I, Yoakum and Grandview with Ted Emmerich. I did 4A Division I, Kilgore and Stephenville with Ted Emmerich. And then I did 5A Division II, South Oak Cliff and Randall with Ted Emmerich. And you asked me because up there at the Dave Campbell's HQ, in the radio booth we have up there that serves as our mothership. You asked me about the boards that I make, because I make prep boards, and stuff like that for all of the teams. This is how I know. I don't know all the stuff off the top of my head. I just have a bunch of notes and I organize them like this. And you asked me, hey, do you keep all of those?
Yes.
The answer of which is yes. These are all the games I've ever called.
So those are all the games you've ever
All
called.
the games I've ever called. And so, I've got all the ones from this past year. So here's the one for Shiner, right? You can see all the things. But then also, if you dig in here, you can find, so this is last year's Munster State Championship game. You've got other things. This is last year's Columbus team.
Amazing.
Adam Schobel and Mountain. There was that. And then if you get into it, you've got some other playoff games. I called an Alamo Heights game a couple years ago. Lake Travis in a first-round playoff game. Vandegrift. Poth when they played Gunner. This was, I think, the first game I ever called. You can see a difference in the style of the boards. I've gotten better at it. Here's Cy Ranch. This was a game I called on Texan Live.
Oh, okay.
But
so to my understanding, you just called the largest classification,
that I've done?
Yes.
Well, so I've done, as far as state championship games,
For state championships, yes.
Before this week, the highest I had done was 3A Division I. But thankfully, our friends at Victory trusted me with some of the live ammo. And I got to do 4A Division I, then 5A Division II, which was super cool.
Tep noseball.
I don't know if that's true, but they at least trusted me enough not to curse into a microphone for some of their biggest games. And it was fun. It's a challenge. Doing 4 games is a lot because I like to be over-prepared for all of these games.
You have to be for these games.
You got to know these teams inside and out. And I pride myself on that. But when you just keep adding games, I don't know how to be like, oh, why don't we divide your energy evenly? What if I just find more energy? So by the time we got to the state championship games, by the time we got there Wednesday, I was so ready for these games just because I'm like, I want to let all this stuff exit my brain and actually use it because I've just been on the phone for these 72 hours getting ready for these games. But it's fun. It's a blessing. I love doing this. I love doing the color commentary because I think it's a challenge. It's something I want to be really good at, and I want to improve. And I hope I'm better than when I started. I called my first state championship game in 2021. I hope I'm better than I was then.
That's not long ago.
It's not. It's about 5 years. But I hope I'm better than I was then. And I've sat here and talked into this microphone on a talk show type thing for 10 years now. I feel like I've got a hang of this. This is something that like I want to be really good at, and I want to push myself to be better at. And so it's really fun, and I'm super grateful for those opportunities. I do not take them for granted. I'm grateful to Victory Plus, and then before that, my friends at Bally/FanDuel/Fox for letting me have that opportunity. So it's very cool. A lot of different games. We'll talk about those here in a moment, but it was a lot of fun.
A lot of tea.
A lot of tea.
Chugging a lot
Oh
of
my
tea.
gosh. I think I had 300 cups of tea this weekend to make sure I didn't lose my voice. Anyway, let's talk state. Hit the theme, Expo. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it's Texas Football Today, a show that's a little footballed out, a little tuckered out. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the editor-in-chief of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine and TexasFootball.com. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I think we are on Disney Plus.
I wish.
Or you're listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good, making me look as good as I possibly can. She's our friend, Vianney Moreno. Hello, Vianney Moreno.
Hi, guys.
We got a big show today because today is Monday, December 22nd, 2025. It is a mere 339 days until Thanksgiving.
Man.
The couple birthdays we got to get into. First of all, happy early birthday to Jesus.
Her birthday, Jesus.
Happy early birthday to Mallory Hartley.
Yes.
Her birthday is she
The 30th.
The 30th.
The same as my father.
Happy early birthday to the great Raul. Shout out Raul. A lot of birthdays coming up here on what's going to be our hiatus. This is our last show until January 26th. Is that what I said? January 26th.
Yes.
Next time we'll have a show. Anyway, it is episode 1910. On today's show, folks, I mean, you know what it is. We're going to talk state. We are going to rank all 12 UIL Texas High School Football State Championship games from 12 to 1. We'll talk about what that means coming up here in a moment. We'll have some clips from our friends at Victory Plus that you can see to introduce each of those. So what I'll do is I'll introduce a number, Vianney will play a clip, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Does that sound good to you guys?
Same.
We'll go 12 through 1 and recap all 12 UIL Texas High School Football State Championship games at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Still, it was a whirlwind week, guys. We had a lot of stuff going on. And by the way, a thank you to you guys for tuning into all of our stuff. Thanks to our friends at the Arlington Sports Commission, we were able to do live post-game shows for all 12 games. They were boffo, huge numbers. This was the biggest year of state championship coverage on our site and on our socials we've ever had. All of our numbies are like crazy big, and that's thanks to you guys. We wouldn't do it if you guys didn't tune in, but we're just really grateful for that. So we got a lot to get to today. And now, as she's scrambling, I'm going to ask her if she has first word through the door. Vianney Moreno, do you have first word through the door?
I do. I was just trying to get my my.
She's like pulling out cords and stuff.
No, I'm trying to get my computer next to me because I don't want to get away from the mic. We have Joey Hill, Ryan Smiga, Tony Blaylock, and
She leans away from
Matthew Bryce.
Perfect.
Nice.
Welcome in, friends. We
Hi,
do
guys.
appreciate you spending a little bit of your day with us. Okie dokie. Hi, guys. State championships were here. We had it. It happened a lot of football that went on. And I think one of the things that's hard about the state championship games is that all of these games, if you watch all 12, kind of blur together. Okay? And so what we want to do here today is go through each of the 12 games and talk a little bit about them, give us a little bit of breakdown on what happened in each of those games. And so what we're going to do, the way we do it around here, is that we are going to rank them. We're going to go through and rank all 12 UIL Texas High School Football State Championship games from 12 to 1. Now, invariably, some of y'all are going to get mad at these rankings because if you are a Gordon fan, I know what your favorite game of the weekend was. If you are a Stephenville fan, I know what your favorite game of the weekend was, right? This is from a neutral perspective, I would say like a watchability perspective of like which of the games from a neutral perspective, if you are somebody who did not have a dog in the hunt, which games did you enjoy the most? Enjoy watching the most. Now, one thing that I think is interesting, there were two, I think, defining characteristics of these 12 games this year. The first is defense. We will talk a lot about great defensive performances at the 2025 Texas High School Football State Championship games. The other is that we only had 2 one-score games. Now, there were a couple games that I think were closer than their score indicated, but this is the fewest number of one-score games we've had since 2016. Why is that? I don't know. I've tried to think about it. I think there's different, obviously styles make fights, right? I went 7-5 on my picks, by the way, so don't necessarily trust me to know what's going on. But I think you had some teams that I think the matchups particularly favored them. We'll talk about that as we go through these games. So we're going to rank them 12 through 1, starting with number 12.
The motion from Cade Ross and the toss to KJ Edwards. And Edwards is in the clear right away. KJ Edwards on his way to the end zone before he heads to College Station. 87 yards for a touchdown.
Well, if you're a West Orange Stark defensive player, you've got to identify this running back, and you've got to be in your lanes. You got blocked. The free safety got blocked by the offensive lineman there, and there was nobody back there to account for KJ on this big first run. You ask how he can get 13.9 yards per carry. It's runs just like that.
Carthage, 49, West Orange Stark, 21 in the 4A Division II state championship game. So, this was the middle game on Friday, and I'm going to be honest. This game, there were a number of surprises at the state championship games. This was not one of them. This was one that I think from the jump, we had a pretty strong suspicion as to who was the favorite in this one. Carthage looked like the more complete team. Shout out to West Orange Stark. They fought back valiantly in this game, but it was too much from Carthage in all phases of the game. They were spectacular offensively. Kelvie Jefferson for West Orange Stark got his, but in the end, it was too much from this Carthage team. Now, I will say this. There's a show that I'm a big fan of, and this is probably dating myself and also exposing what a nerd that I am. But it was a show called How It Works. Okay? Have you ever seen this show?
Yes, okay. I love that show.
How It Works, basically, they like to go into factories and just say, or how it's made. How it's made. Thank you. How it's made. And they go into factories and they show you, hey, you ever wonder how parking cones are made? We're going to show you. They go through the whole process and starts with all these raw materials and it ends up going through the system and coming out as a parking cone. That's awesome. Sometimes it's just fun to watch a machine work. I think that's what you saw from Carthage. This is a team that went 8 yards of play in this game. Rang up nearly 500 yards total offense on a pretty good West Orange Shark defense. Jet Surratt, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns passing. KJ Edwards, 153 yards and 2 touchdowns, including, by the way, on only 12 touches. He got injured in that game and came out and accepted his offensive MVP award on crutches. But they The defense snuffed out West Orange Stark, came up with big plays, and the offense went to work. So many weapons. Scott Surratt is now 11-0 in state championship games. 11-0. No other UIL 11-man Texas high school football coach has even been to 11 games. And he's 11-0. I put this out on Twitter, the numbers on Carthage, that over the last decade, they're 144-6. And with 7 state championships. I don't know if Scott Surratt's the greatest coach of all time. I think he's in the conversation. But I will say this. This is the greatest decade in Texas high school football history. Absolute domination from Carthage en route to their 11th state championship. Wasn't a ton to watch, though, would be my part. Because it was just, but sometimes it's fun to watch the machine operate. Mm-hmm. Number 11.
From winning their 3rd straight state title, 44 yards away from it. And they'll go right to Striker Reed, and Striker Reed will take it 44 yards to a 3rd straight state championship. The Gordon Longhorns, a three-peat. They walk it off on the touchdown run by Striker Reed, up 44 yards.
Quite a run by Reed. Got some good blocking, and the rest was just his speed getting through there. Nobody was going to catch him. Great run by the coaches.
Gordon 69, Rankin 22 in the 1A Division I state championship game. It was a game that kicked off the whole weekend. Remember that? Wednesday morning? And speaking of watching the machine operate, that's what we got to see with Gordon. Now I want to give some love to Rankin. I think Rankin hung in there. I thought Matthew Ramos was tough in this game. 2 touchdowns. Rankin forced a second half. They got this game into the 3rd quarter. But Gordon was never really threatened in this game. They were never threatened in this game. And this is a Gordon team that I think we need to consider their place in Texas high school football history. As far as one of the greatest 6-man teams we've ever seen. And this 3-year run of a three-peat, one of the greatest we've ever seen in 6-man football. Striker Reed, Rye Reed, Braden Walters. This team averaged in a state championship game 21.9 yards per play. 22 yards a play. Absolutely absurd. They rang up 351 yards on 16 plays.
That's insane.
Against a pretty good Rankin team. This team, I think, will go down in history as one of the greatest 6-man football teams of all time. Plain and simple. I don't think there's any way around it. Because both sides. The offense, obviously spectacular, but defensively relentless. They held Rankin on 3rd and 4th down to 4 for 16 defensively. Gordon faced 1 3rd down. 1. An absolutely dominant performance from one of the greatest 6-man football teams you will ever see. The Gordon Longhorns, wire-to-wire number 1, undisputedly the best 6-man football team in America. Unbelievable what they did. That's number 11. Number 10.
For DeSoto, obviously on the opposite side, and they have to try to sustain drives.
Well, they're getting Baker going again here, and there goes Sarad. Say goodnight to it. Sarad Baker, 53 yards for a DeSoto touchdown.
The Baker is in the kitchen tonight. Sarad Baker doing Sarad Baker things. What did we just say? They didn't listen to the keys, Craig. You have to limit his ability to get down the field. He puts his foot in the ground. Yes, I'm a power back, but I will turn the gas on you all day long. takes this thing to a
DeSoto
house.
55, CE King 27 in the 6A Division II state championship game. The last game of the season, Saturday night. DeSoto's going to be a hard team to parse because I want you to remember back at the beginning of the season. Remember, this is a DeSoto team that got drilled by a team from Georgia. They lost 2 of their first 3 games by 40 points. This team didn't look like a team that was going to even sniff AT&T Stadium. But they figured it out. And that team got better and better and better as the season goes on. That is a credit to the coaching staff there, Coach Claude Mathis and his whole staff, figuring out what worked for them. First of all, I think their defense got a lot better. I think their defense improved each and every week. They were, for the most part, able to mitigate the CE King speed. CE King only had 280 yards of offense. That's impressive. You know, they held CE King 4.7 yards per carry. Now, by CE King standards, that's pretty poor for them because these are the team that was averaging 10, 11 yards carry in a game. But the defense, I think, came up with big plays. The defense came up with 8 tackles for loss. And then, offensively, they spread the ball around. I think there's an argument to be made. That was Legend Howell, their quarterback's best game of the season. 280 yards, 4 touchdowns, took care of the football. Sarad Baker, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Booby Feaster went nuts, 10 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. They rang up 444 yards of offense. I thought DeSoto was the favorite entry in the game, and they looked it. CE King, I think you saw in the first quarter the difference between a team that's been there before and a team that hasn't. And that's to take nothing away from CE King, who had a remarkable season. Coach Corey Laxton needs to be on the short list of everybody's Coach of the Year conversation. But 27-0 in the first quarter, they got blitzkrieged right out of the jump, right out of the chute, and it was over from there. It's now time to consider this DeSoto program. This is 3 titles in 4 years. Do you know what we call that? We call that a dynasty. If the Kansas City Chiefs win 3 Super Bowls in 4 seasons, that's a dynasty. If the Golden State Warriors win 3 titles in 4 years, that's a dynasty. If the New York Yankees win 3 titles in 4 years, that's a dynasty. DeSoto's a certified, undisputed dynasty in Texas high school football. And I'm not sure why they don't necessarily get that rub, but this is one of the premier programs in Texas high school football over the past half decade. And what Coach Claude Mathis has built there is really remarkable. And I think this is his best coaching job. I went down there before the game and dapped him up and chatted with him. And I told him the truth. I said, Coach, I got to be honest, I don't think this is your most talented team. And he goes, oh, no. No, absolutely not. He goes, but you know what? This is the team that's got the most heart. And I think you saw that. I think you saw it in their state semifinal win over South Lake Carroll. I think you saw them getting off the mat after what they did in week 1. I think you saw it in the first quarter of that state championship game. That was a spectacular performance on the big stage from the DeSoto Eagles, a Texas high school football dynasty. That's number 10. Number 9.
At Yoakum, we better use them like this. They clear holes for Barnett. Xavier Barnett ahead of the pack again to the end zone. His second touchdown. This time from 59.
He's a menace. I'm telling you, this kid is special. Look at the strides. When he gets out on the edge, make one man miss, and from there, we are going to cruise. Pop this thing into cruise control and get in for 6.
Yoakum 45, Grandview 29 in the 3A Division I state championship game. And, 3A Division 1 has been the most chaotic classification this season. Up and down. Nobody's able to establish themselves. Nobody's able to pull away. And yet, at the end of the year, I feel real comfortable crowning Yoakum. And they are a totally different team than what we thought they would be because they made one key adjustment. They moved Jace Morales, who was essentially their slot receiver, over to quarterback, and essentially started running their offense out of the Wildcat. And at that point, they were unstoppable. And you saw it on the state championship stage. This is a team that ran for 396 yards in this game. They averaged 9 yards a carry. Xavier Barnett went berserker. 193 yards and a state championship record tying 5 touchdowns on the ground. They threw the ball twice. But the offensive line, I want to give a ton of credit to the offensive line. I thought they were masterful in this game. I thought they dominated at the point of attack against a good Grandview front. But Xavier Barnett was one of the most special players I think we saw at the state championship games. My goodness, what a player. They were exceptional. And furthermore, they pressed the issue defensively. And they were in the backfield making quarterback Peanut Landers for Grandview uncomfortable in the pocket. That, I think, was one of the big things here. They only sacked him twice, but they had 7 tackles for loss. I thought, oh man, I put my sheets down there. I could tell you. I thought their defensive tackles for Yoakum were amazing. Their numbers are not going to tell you that, but I thought what their defensive tackles did. Ivan Lopez and Brett, I think is Varela. Yeah, Joaquin Varela. I thought they were so good, freeing up their linebackers to fly to the football and stop this running game. And for Bo Robinson and Yoakum, it's special. For Yoakum, their first ever state championship. Been playing football for over 100 years. They can finally call themselves champions. And for Bo Robinson, very special for him and his family. Because that state championship has eluded his family. Whether it's brother Ty or his father Wendell. This is the first. They were 0-6 in title games as a family going to that game. And you saw Ty Robinson on the sideline in the dying embers of that game and what it meant to him and his family. What a story were the Yoakum Bulldogs. And a game with big plays, but ultimately Yoakum's rushing attack was unstoppable in this ballgame. And Xavier Barnett, wow. Really impressive. That's number 9. Number 8.
On 4th down. Any doubt as to where this is going to go? There it is. Ham had to reach back for it, and there he goes. He's in. Touchdown, Bodie Ham. His 10th rushing touchdown of this state championship game. It's an all-time touchdown rushing record for the senior from Jayton.
Jayton 99, Richland Springs 54 in the 1A Division II state championship game. This is the middle game on Wednesday. This game was bizarre in the sense that Richland Springs had so much stomach for the fight and kept throwing punches, and you can 100% see why they were here. Cohen Etheridge, Ethan Deeds, Billy Perry. I like this team a lot. And they were able to throw punches in this ball game. But it got to a point, and sometimes six-man football games get here because you have the 45-point mercy rule at or after halftime. But it got to the point there kind of in the late second quarter where we entered what I would call like a six-man purgatory where Jayton was up and they were clearly going to win this game. But Richland Springs kept punching, and kept keeping this game within that kind of 30-point range. And so it wasn't until the final minute of the game that we had that touchdown run and the extra point that put, the 2-point I should say, that put Jayton over the top of the 45-point mercy rule. So it kind of existed for a lot of this in that purgatory era. But we're burying the lead here. Bodie Ham. Holy crap. 430 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns, a state championship record. And by the way, he threw for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns as well. That is a legendary state championship performance. Legendary. 548 total yards and 13 total touchdowns for Bodie Ham, the senior. You can live for 50 more years and not see a performance like that. He was unstoppable. And they kept feeding him because they knew that he was the best player on the field. Bodie Ham is going to be, he's on that short list of like guys we're going to remember for a long time. There are like Texas high school football folk heroes who were born at the state championships. And Bodie Ham was really good for Jayton last year when they won a state championship. I want to say he was their offensive MVP. Either him or Sean Stanley, I can't remember. But this year, he was also, correct, I believe this is correct, he was the defensive MVP as well. Yeah, he was. I mean, he's a Texas high school football folk hero at this point. He is Paul Bunyan in six-man football. An unreal performance on the big stage, and Jayton goes back-to-back, wire-to-wire number 1 in 1A Division II. Sometimes just fun to watch the machine work. He was incredible.
Yeah, offensive and defensive MVP.
Crazy. That's a class that does not take long to call roll. That's number 8. Number 7.
5A Division II. Up under 10 points per game. And it's intercepted. Taken away by South Oak Cliff. Xavier Mayfield inside the Randall 25. It's the first interception of Mayfield's senior season. What a way to start the state championship for Sock.
They go to the air on second and medium, and it's just thrown a little bit ahead of his target. It looks like he fell down as well. And South Oak Cliff, a dream start after last year's nightmare start. They have turned the tables here, and Death Row comes up with a big takeaway.
And Trotter's back in at running back. And Trotter stays on his feet. Mikhail Trotter to the second level. Breaks another tackle. And he's got his second touchdown. Get off of me. 40 yards.
Mikhail Trotter, unconscious, rumbling and stumbling, refuses to go down. He stopped there, keeps it going. Count the missed tackles, count the broken tackles, count the broken ankles. A showstopper on the big stage.
South Oak Cliff, 30, what was the final score? I forgot. Call this game. 35, Richmond Randall 19 in the 5A Division II state championship game. This was the kickoff of Saturday. A game ruined by the color commentator. It wasn't supposed to be like this. because the headline in this game was the number one scoring offense in 5A Division II, Randall, against the number one scoring defense in 5A Division II, South Oak Cliff. And certainly that was the matchup of heavyweights. South Oak Cliff won that battle decisively. They held Landon Williams-Callis to less than 4 yards a carry.
Wow.
Yes, the best running back in America by a lot of standards. And by the way, I talked with a coach at South Oak Cliff afterwards, and he goes, that kid is unbelievable. They held him fewer than 4 yards a carry. They were all over Tyler Skrbonek. Sacked him twice. They had 8 tackles for loss. That death row defense is the stuff that is going to be mythologized for years. That defense is gnarly. They were as advertised. Took the ball away twice. You saw the interception on the first series set the tone and said it's going to be about the death row defense tonight. And by the way, 35-19 is probably flattering to Randall. Because remember, they did have a kickoff return for a touchdown because Landon Williams-Callis went 100 yards. And then they scored a touchdown basically in garbage time of this game. But the other thing about it, and the thing that I think I missed in this game, in my analysis of it, is South Oak Cliff's offense against Randall's defense. South Oak Cliff also won that handily. The numbers aren't going to blow you away, 330 total yards, right? They average 7 yards to play. And the difference in this year's South Oak Cliff team, and why they were able to snap the state's 11-man's longest winning streak. Randall had won 31 in a row going into that game. Is Jaden Williams, their quarterback. Now, I want to be clear. His numbers, fine. 12 of 13, 89 yards and a touchdown. The opening touchdown, a strike to Torrin Teague on a slant. But his ability to get the ball out quick to his receivers and let them make plays after the catch forced Randall to put more guys out wide to cover, which opened up the running lanes for guys like Mikael Trotter and Levon Morton. Mikael Trotter goes 143 yards and 3 touchdowns, including that touchdown run, which is going to be a highlight reel you see for years. That is a sensational run, as good as you may ever see. South Oak Cliff left no doubt. They've now won 3 titles in the last 5 years. What Jason Todd and his staff have built there is a dynasty. Plain and simple. They are the team of record in 5A Division II. And it was impressive to watch in person. That's number 7. Coming up after the break, we'll get in the back half of this, including the 6 best games we saw in Arlington at the state championship games. But first, a word from these valued partners.
Hello, Candace.
Not you again.
Me again. Remember our last oil change? Your boyfriend said he knew a guy who knew a guy. None of those guys knew what they were doing, including you, Todd.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, where you can watch our experts change your oil right from your car.
Thanks for coming in.
And finish in about 15 minutes. Valvoline. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
Pour some sunshine with new First Light Community Coffee's first ever light roast. This blend has notes of honey and brown sugar that will brighten any part of your day. Try First Light now at communitycoffee.com.
Friday night football is here, and Hometown is trusted by thousands of schools across the nation to make game days effortless. Sell tickets online, easily scan them at the gate, track sales in real time, and keep your community connected with a free athletic website. Make every game a hometown game. Visit hometown.com to learn more.
Every legend starts with a vision. For Dave Campbell, that vision was clear. Tell the story of Texas football like never before. In 1960, he built something no one had before, a magazine that became the Bible of Texas football. Coaches, players, and fans didn't just read it, they lived by it. His words shaped the game. His vision built a legacy. And his name? It will always be written in the story of Texas football. Dave Campbell's Texas Football, where legends begin.
Back here on Texas Football Today, season finale edition, shocking season finale. I'm Greg Tepper, that's Vianney Moreno.
Hello.
We are counting down, ranking the 12 UIL Texas High School Football State Championship games we watched at AT&T Stadium in Arlington this past weekend. And again, to reset, this is a neutral fan perspective. If you are a fan of South Oak Cliff, I know 100% what your favorite game of the weekend was. And by the way, if you are a fan of West Orange Shark, I know what your least favorite game of the weekend was. So we're ranking it from a neutral fan perspective. We've reached the top half. Number 6.
They are taking their time in the possession, although Kearney looks to throw now. Going deep, he's got Hess open. Hess is there. Never mind the clock. It's another Munster Hornet touchdown. The combination of Case and Kearney to Garrett Hess has worked nicely here in the first half of the defending state champions.
Munster 28, Shiner nothing in the 2A Division II state championship game. This is the Thursday morning game. A rematch of last year's 2A Division II state championship game. And something very different. We have to heap praise on both sides of the Munster Ball Club here. We'll start with the offense. This was the best defense in 2A Division II in Shiner. Think about what they've just done. They had gotten done smothering Junction in the regional final, and they had gotten done smothering Mount Enterprise, which featured the all-time leading rusher in Texas high school football history, in Kagan Ash. Smothered them in the state semifinal. This defense had been flying around. And Munster unlocked them. Munster found a way to get a push up front. I thought their offensive line was exceptional in this ball game. And they had two guys, that Shiner did not have an answer for. The first is obvious, Case and Kearney. What a player. What a player. A 2-time state championship offensive MVP. He goes for, I can't do the math, 240 some odd yards and 4 total touchdowns. Their leading rusher, and obviously their leading passer. He was 9 for 10 passing. And his only incompletion was an interception. The other thing they didn't have an answer for was Garrett Hess. And I will be honest with you, if you go look at Garrett Hess, their kind of tall weapon on the outside, if you look at his numbers throughout the course of the year, they're down pretty significantly. And I don't mind telling you this now. I talked with Brady Kearney in the lead up to the game because I was doing the color for Victory Plus. And I asked him, hey, this can just stay between us. I'm not going to call Coach Bedeker and let him know. But I've noticed that Garrett's numbers are down. What's going on? And he told me, he's battling through injury. He's hurt. But we're going to have to put him in a straitjacket to keep him off the field. Well, on the big stage, he came up huge. 4 catches, 107 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Uncoverable. If that's hurt, I don't want to know what he looks like healthy. He was sensational. The other side of it, I think, was maybe more masterful. This Munster defense, my goodness. Rhett Walterscheid, the playmakers they had on that defense. I thought their freshman, Titan Bender, was awesome in this ball game. Brody Baggs, who had to step in due to injury. was spectacular in this game. They flew to the football. They were exceptional and gave no quarter to the Stephenville or to this Shiner rushing attack. Shiner only ran for 88 yards, 2.5 yards a carry. They took the Shiner split back veer and they put them in the sharpshooter. They had nowhere to go. It was masterful. And in a weekend full of great defensive performances, this is one that maybe because it happened on Thursday morning, we may forget. Do not forget about this. This Munster defensive performance was suffocating. And it was fun to watch. Shiner looked out of answers in this game. And it was really impressive to watch. And Munster goes back to back. The undisputed kings of 2A Division II. What a game for the Hornets. That's number 6. Number 5.
Favor is high. Take the risk.
Try it now, but that ball was tipped and picked. Intercepted. Here goes Hornsby for a game-sealing touchdown. 23 yards on the return. What a moment for the senior linebacker, Colton Hornsby, who takes it in on the pick six.
You mentioned Lone Star needed to take a shot down the field. They tried to do so, but in order to do so, you have to have pass protection. They did not necessarily have the time they needed on this particular play. You're going to see Trey Wright drop back right here, and immediately the ball is stripped out of his hand, tipped by Hudson Woods, and right there on the spot is Colton Hornsby, who has been all over the field tonight, and he goes out there and caps off this game.
Smithson Valley 28, Frisco Lone Star 6 in the 5A Division I state championship game. This is the Friday night game. We said in the lead up to this game that the story here was pace. The story here was who will dictate what type of game this is. Because if this is a game that gets up and down, if this is a game that turns into a shootout, if this is a game of who can have the ball the most times, Lone Star is super comfortable in a game like that. If this is a game that's played at a slower pace, if this is a game where yards are at a premium, where points are at a premium, where you have to work for every yard, then that is the kind of game that Smithson Valley wants to play. I want you to consider the fact that last week against Aledo, who was the number 1 scoring defense in 5A Division I, Frisco Lone Star rang up 637 yards of offense. Frisco Lone Star averaged, can't do yards per play real quick, but a lot of yards per play. 637 yards. Smithson Valley held them to 230. Basically a third of what they did. To call this domination is a disrespect to what Smithson Valley did. This was a smothering. This was as thorough a defensive performance as you will ever see. This is a Lone Star offense that had been unstoppable. And Smithson Valley looked them in the eye and said, "Go home. Your arms are not long enough to box with God." This was masterful. And Larry Hill is a freaking wizard. This was sensational defensively. They had 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. They held Lone Star to 4.2 yards per play. The offense did what it needed to. Their running back, Caleb Piegler, nice game. 64 yards and a touchdown. Their quarterback, Ty Knutson, nice game. 160 yards and a touchdown. Not the story. Not the story. This Smithson Valley defense was a chainsaw. And they made an offense that had just gotten done hanging 600-plus yards on Aledo look not just ordinary. This was unreal from Smithson Valley. And the more you watch it, the more impressed you are. That was unbelievable. I picked Smithson Valley, so yay me. But
Yay.
not like that. That was a masterpiece from the Rangers, the Smithson Valley Rangers, as they go back to back. That's number 5. Number 4.
Watch them lose in the semifinals, and now he's here trying to bring home a championship.
Down the seam, a bubble, and a catch. It's a touchdown. After all, breathe a sigh of relief, Coulter Johnson.
I had an old teammate by the name of Randy Moss. He said, Zay, you only get credit for one catch. But doggone it, I don't care if it takes you 1 try, 2 tries, or 3. You bobble. As long as you end up with the ball in your hand in the end zone, that's all that matters. You talked about his versatility. Now you're seeing him line up at receiver.
And he's got more than 600 yards receiving. Coming open over the middle, Roberts to the end zone. Devin Eames, he's got it for a go-ahead touchdown.
What a play design. They go out there and get the man-to-man coverage that they were hoping for. And when you play man-to-man against Devin Eames, you most likely are going to come up on the wrong end of it. They run a corner route. Ball is placed on the money. Look at this ball. Drops it right in the bucket. Moved out my way hand. I have to get into the arms of Mr. Eames right here. Look at him. Throw your hands in the air. One heck of a pass by you, Mr. Carson Roberts.
Hamilton 21, Joaquin 7 in the 2A Division I state championship game. And I thought this was a really impressive performance. We're going to talk a lot about the Hamilton defense in a moment, but I thought this was a really impressive performance from Hamilton's offense. And we talked about in the lead up to this game that Hamilton is at their best when they have balance offensively. And they got enough from Halston Hale, 93 yards and a touchdown. But I thought their junior quarterback, I think he's a junior quarterback, Carson Roberts, was really, really strong in this game. We know the weaponry they've got on the outside. Pierce Summers, Devin Eames. But really, what impressed me most was his poise in the pocket and his ability to make the throws when he was asked to. This is a team that wants to run the ball, but they are best when they are balanced. They were really balanced. But the defense for Hamilton is the story here. What a team. Because the question coming into this game was, can they diagnose and slow down the slot team? That was the whole ball game. Because if they couldn't, Joaquin was going to do what they'd done to everybody, which is they were going to run all over you, and you weren't going to get the ball enough. But instead, they were able to hold them to 4 yards a carry. Joaquin was never able to break the big one. They were always met by a pack of Bulldogs. And they bottled them up something fierce. I thought Easton Marwitz, their freshman linebacker, oh man, what a player. Brett Bauman, sensational. Luke York up front, a dog. This was really impressive. And that's the thing. Joaquin prides themselves on, yeah, you're going to stop him for 3 yards. You're going to stop him for 4 yards. You're going to stop him for 3 yards. But in the fourth quarter, those are going to end up being 6 yards. Those are going to end up being 7 yards. They're going to wear you down. And then, by the way, they're going to pop a couple that are going to go for 40. And Hamilton never let them do this. You and I were at the game, the semifinal game against West Texas.
Yes.
And if you remember, the opening drive of the game, West Texas marched themselves down the field and got a touchdown. And we kind of looked at each other like, uh-oh, Hamilton, might be a long day for you. And from that point on, Hamilton put them to sleep. They had that one drive, and then they were like, no more. No more. Exactly what happened in this ball game. Joaquin got the ball, drove all the way down, and scored a touchdown, and we're thinking, might be a long day for Hamilton. And then they went up behind him, put him to sleep. This was first state championship in Hamilton history, the official team of Tep and Step.
Yeah.
We'll be at the parade. This was, for Coach Ryan Marwitz, such a tremendous season and caps off what can only be described, or puts an exclamation point on what can only be described as the golden era of Hamilton football. A tremendous performance and a worthy state champion. Hamilton over Joaquin. Into the top 3, right?
Yes.
Number 3.
3rd down and 12 now. Robertson is the motion man to the top of your screen. And on 3rd down, quick swing pass to Robertson. And he runs it inside the receiver screen. Here goes Reed Robertson. Say goodnight to it. Robertson takes it in for the score. 47 yards on the bubble screen that Robertson broke to the house.
We just said give Landon an easy pass, give him something to build his confidence. Well, what other way to build your confidence than to get the ball in the fastest man on the field's hands in Reed Robertson? He is the guy who runs track. He's on the 4x4. He's on the 4x2. He's on the 4x1, and you see him with that number 1 getting in the end zone.
Wall 25, Newton 24 in the 3A Division II state championship game. This was the game that a lot of us were most looking forward to this weekend. And it was a strange game because it's going to end up being a 1-point game. But Wall really dominated the first half here. They went into halftime 25-8. And excuse me. And if you're just box score hunting, you're going to wonder how Wall won this game. You're going to wonder. They had 200 yards of offense. Landon York, by his standards, had a pretty mediocre game. 9 of 25 for 151 yards, 2 scores and a pick. They only averaged 4.3 yards per play. Newton had almost 400 yards. Newton almost doubled him up in total yardage. But 2 things. 1, Wall's defense landed the first punch, and they held this Newton speed in check for a lot of this game. They were able to put a lid on them and not let them break big plays. They were also living in the backfield. 5 tackles for loss. The other thing is that Wall dominated in the little things. Wall played disciplined football. Wall was exceptional on special teams, including a punt block for a touchdown, and came up with the big plays. Now, Newton was down big in this game, 25-8, and they came out swinging in the second half and made adjustments and shut out Wall in the second half and pulled within 1 point in the waning minute, but weren't able to get what ended up being a crazy onside kick that bounced around about 16 times. Weren't able to get on it, and Wall held on to bring home a state championship. This was a weird game because basically, I think the name of the game was Wall dug a hole for Newton that was just deep enough to hold them off. I want to be really clear that I think Wall was the better team in this game. I hope that's coming off. And that they were the better team in all of the ways that don't show up in the box score. They did all the little things right to build up a lead and then hang on late. As Coach Craig Slaughter brings Wall a state championship. A tremendous performance from the boys from the Concho Valley in a game that was the closest game of the weekend. It's the only 1-point game. And I think Wall was the better team in this game for about 36 minutes. Give Newton a ton of credit for throwing punches and coming back. But in the end, Wall, a deserving 3A Division II state champion. Into the top 2. Number 2.
Sterling Doty had the conversation with him. Now the shot by Jordan. He wants Juergens. Flag is down. Doesn't matter. It's a touchdown. Stephenville breaks the seal.
They go back to the RPO well. And this time, Trot Jordan with a late pull. He holds it and holds it and holds it. And I think that holding it that extra quarter second allowed his receiver,
pass interference,
Juergens, to get
defense
3.
Number 10. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
And what a dime from the junior quarterback. And a tremendous diving grab from Aiden Juergens. And finally,
Stephenville 10, Kilgore 0 in the 4A Division I state championship game. An acquired taste. Okay? Our friend Craig Way would call this a taffy pull, a rock fight. And if you're into defense, this was as good as it gets. Because these defenses, if you're into physical football, because these defenses were laying the lumber. These teams were throwing haymakers. These defenses were exceptional. They were as advertised. This is a game that featured, 5 total turnovers. We'll get into that in a moment. 11 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, big-time plays on the defensive side. This was a defensive... with the half scoreless. We were 0-0 at half. Not the last time it would be. Stephenville's defense, I thought you could give the defensive player of the game to a variety of different players. They gave it to Hudson Butchie, their linebacker, and I got no problem with that. I thought C.J. Spellmeyer was unbelievable in this game. I thought Caleb Taylor, the other linebacker, was unbelievable in this game. I thought Colton Dirth, even though the numbers don't bear it out, he was so dominant up front that it allowed those linebackers to funnel. And this is a home run hitting Kilgore offense, and they were able to hold them in check. They forced 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble. They were exceptional in this ballgame. In a game that there was no quarter here for these offenses. They had nowhere to go. Because I think there's an argument to be made that if you were to stack up all the defenses that we saw pound for pound, you could make an argument that Kilgore is like a top 3 defense we saw. They were unreal in this game. Their linebackers were so good in this game. But Stephenville was able to mitigate LaKeelian Graves, and they were to wait out Kilgore. And eventually, right out of the jump in the second half, they hit the big one. And you saw it. Trot Jordan finding Aiden Juergens for the touchdown. That's all they needed. This was a high-tension game that one big play could change everything. And basically, this game came down to like 2 plays. It was the Zyler McClendon run that set up that touchdown pass. That 2-play sequence is the whole game. And Stephenville gave them no breathing room. None. I thought from a defensive performance, this was fun. Both offensive lines and defensive lines were going to war in this game. They were taking chunks out of each other. This was probably pound for pound the most physical game of the weekend. All due respect to the game we're about to talk about. This was, if you're into this kind of football, this was Big Ten football. If you're into that kind of thing, this was manna from heaven. I loved this game. I loved it. I know it didn't have the big plays, but like from a watchability perspective, where every play, every snap, it feels like the game is hanging in the balance, This was really, really fun. And Stephenville goes 16-0 and brings home another title to the City of Champions. A tremendous ball game between two teams that took tire irons to one another for 48 minutes. It was awesome. But it was not my number one game of the weekend. No. Number one!
It's explosive.
So now North Shore with the benefit of that and off play action. Here's Maryland going deep. Got the man. Caught. Touchdown. Guess who? Jalen Bocard in for the first score of the 6A state championship.
Well, we talked about him and what he means to this football team. He got that first down on the sideline a little while ago, but now he kind of does a little speed run to the middle of the field, and Jalen Bocard gets that first touchdown for either team here. And more importantly for North Shore, they're going to toss this ball down there. You take a look at Caleb Maryland and what the arm strength he has, and he hits a dime right there to his number one receiver, Jalen Bocard. And the Stangs got a touchdown.
Down Yancey. Looks to throw, and he's got a man wide open. Downfield, caught. Duncanville touchdown, Zach Turner. We mentioned that Yancey can do a lot of things with this offense, and that's the first time we've seen him throw it today.
Yeah, Yancey does a nice job here as a receiver, now in a quarterback position and taking it out there. And just a Wildcat. He's done the Wildcat runs here in this ball game, but hasn't thrown the ball until this time in the ball game. So Zach Turner, who's to the right there, lines up. He's got a little dual thumb block, and then he runs right past him, and Yancey sees him well, gets that ball to him, and then the run after the catch into the end.
Right here. 4th down and 3. Rivers looking, dumps it outside, off the hands. Leon Wood could not hold it. The ball will go over on downs, and North Shore is going to win the state title.
Well, Craig, I'm going to tell you, it's the defense of North Shore that won this football game today. They took a talented offense from Duncanville and said, hey, you guys are not going to get away with a whole lot of offense with us. And they certainly didn't. They bent here late in this ball game, but they did not break. Look at these last two plays here, just as evidence of really what their offense, their defense is all about. Trying to get a little speed sweep here to the outside, no going. Look at those hats. 5 hats on that tackle. That's the heart of that North Shore defense right there. And then this last play, unfortunate there for the young man.
North Shore 10, Duncanville 7 in the 6A Division I state championship game. A heavyweight prize fight. That's what it was. A heavyweight prize fight. These were 2 championship programs absolutely laying into each other for 48 minutes. Especially defensively. These defenses were amazing in this game. Whether it was holding teams in check or coming up with big plays. There's only 1 turnover in this game. Only 1 turnover. And North Shore picked off a pass early in the game. But it felt like these defenses came up with big play after big play after big play after big play. It scoreless at halftime and scoreless into the second half of the third quarter before you saw Caleb Maryland finally take the top off and hit Jalen Bocard for a touchdown. In a play, go back and watch that play and that play design, and then go back and watch the game winner in 2021 where freshman Caleb Bailey lays it into David Amador for North Shore. In a game that played out similarly to this one. North Shore ended up taking a 10-0 lead. Duncanville roars back, gets a touchdown, and the ball back. And that final 5 minutes where Duncanville needs a stop and a field goal to tie or a touchdown to win, that is the good stuff. That is why you sit through a bunch of blowouts in September and pay attention to Texas high school football, because you get the payoff right there. That is high tension, high stakes, everything on the line football. And those 5 minutes, the final 5 minutes of that game, that was the best of the weekend. That was electric. And in front of a huge crowd, nearly 40,000 there at AT&T Stadium. Attendance was up, by the way, big time. In front of a huge crowd. And electricity that you can only get in the Texas High School Football State Championships. And the North Shore defense stood on its head and came up with big play after big play after big play. Duncanville's defense, that front, KJ Ford and Landon Barnes, wow. They held North Shore in check. But Willie Gaston gets his first state championship by pressing all the right buttons and coming up with just one extra play, just one extra stop, just one extra moment. That is the good stuff. That is why you pay attention to Texas high school football.
Agreed.
For moments like that, for electricity like that, a heavyweight prize fight. North Shore is now 4-2 against Duncanville in the state championship stage, and a deserving state championship going back to the east side. It was my number one game of the weekend. North Shore 10, Duncanville 7. That, other than that, I don't really have any thoughts on the weekend. Let's go to final thoughts from Vayner Moreno. You got anything to say?
Final thoughts is let's move on over to Christmas time. Christmas is in. That's the crazy part about this is like you go through so much. So all of playoffs and this state week feels like an actual 2 weeks. We were talking about it earlier before the show started. And then you finish state, and then, oh, by the way, Christmas is like tomorrow.
Yeah, it's wild, huh? Yeah, so a moment here. This is our last show of the year. We're going to be back on January 26th to get you ready for realignment. It's been a big year here at Dave Campbell's. It's been a year of change. It's been a year that hasn't always been easy for us behind the scenes. We've tried a lot of things. A lot of them worked, some of them haven't. But we are really grateful to you, the viewers and the readers, for trusting us to be your home for Texas high school football and Texas football in general. Got great college football coverage from Mike Craven. This is the end of my 15th season here at Dave Campbell's. And when I was hired in 2011, my job was, and this is true, my job was to write one thing every weekday on TexasFootball.com. That's it. Now you see the growth and the explosion of content and the variety of content, whether it's still the written stuff or it's video stuff or it's podcasts and the network that we've built here at Dave Campbell's. And I am immensely proud and immensely grateful to not just the people that I work with, but also the people that tune in and give us a reason to do it. We wouldn't do it if you didn't watch. We wouldn't do it if you didn't read. Like, we're not doing this for our health. But I'm immensely grateful for all of the wonderful things we get to do in service of football in this state. It is not something we take for granted, that we get to come to work and do these things. And it's not something that I take for granted, that I get to come and cover a sport that I love with people that I love. That means a lot to me. I'm immensely grateful to our team and proud of them and love them very much. This is the time of year when you're supposed to be sappy, so I'm being a little sappy. But I'm very grateful for this team and for the opportunity to bring you Texas high school football the way we believe it deserves to be covered. I wish you and your family and your friends a very, very happy, healthy holidays, New Year, a very Merry Christmas. And thank you again for allowing us to be a small part of your football season. That is going to do it for us. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Thank you for spending part of your year with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. For Vinay Moreno and the entire staff here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, I'm Greg Tepper. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We will see you in January on Texas Football Today.
Merry Christmas.